Awesome. Hey, look, tonight, Kirsten was right. We're in the middle of a series called Restored, and we're up to part 6. And tonight I've actually labeled this part Peace in Progress. And the reason why I've done that is because that one of the greatest things you can achieve with your life is finding peace. It's one of the most powerful things that we can find as humans. And I read this quote the other day. It said, "The world around you is beautiful when the world within you is peaceful." And so I just wanted to preach that tonight, and I just want to disclaimer, I'm no expert at peace management. I'm not a professional at it, but I know someone that is. And the other day I was literally in the car, and this is a great example of what chaos can look like. I get home from work, and Kirsty's at home, and I walk through the door, and most husbands will know this. Their hair's like all messed up, and they're like, "Thank goodness you're home. Like, you're here." And I said, "What happened?" And I have 3 boys, so it's this chaos at home. And she goes, "Babe, I just need a break. I just need you to take them for a drive, do something with them. I need a break." And I was like, in my head, I didn't say this out loud. I hope she's not listening right now. I said, "Surely it can't be that bad. Like they're my beautiful sons. Like, they're so well behaved. Like, what's she talking about?" And so she said, "Today was just extra difficult." So I said, "All right, boys, in the car. I've got some stuff to do. I've got some errands to run. We're going to go to the shops." And this is about 6 o'clock at night, school holidays. So we went out for a little night shop. And I won't tell you the location we ended up in because it might send me to jail, and I might be criminally charged for what happened next. But I pulled up at this shopping centre, and I'm sitting in the car, and I'm going through my phone. I turn the car off. The kids are in the back. I'm doing my thing. I'm going through my phone. And all of a sudden, there's a restaurant in front of our car. And I'm kind of just looking up, and I'm doing my phone, and the kids are in the back, very quiet, very well behaved. I'm like, what is Kirsty talking about? And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, people from the restaurant start looking at our car. And they're smiling. Some of them start to laugh. Some of them were pointing, and I thought, this must be something happening behind us. So I went back to my phone. I'm going through my phone again. And then I look up, and there's more people at the restaurant. There's more commotion going on. There's more people laughing, smiling, pointing. And I thought, what the heck's going on? I'm like a bit confused in all this. So I thought, that's not for me. You know when someone waves to you, and you're like, I'm not going to wave because that's probably for the guy behind me. Like, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm just going to ignore that. Anyway, I looked up, and by then, the whole restaurant was pointing, laughing, smiling, pointing at our car. And I said, what the heck's going on? And I literally turn around, and my son, Dallas, who's my eldest, he's sitting there laughing so hard that there's no noise coming out of his body or his mouth. He's just tearing in joy of laughter. And my other son, Blaze, which is my second eldest, has pulled his pants down and has put his bum cheeks against the window of the back of the car. Just his little tiny bum just pressed against the glass. And I was so embarrassed that I didn't even get out of the car. We reversed out of the shopping centre. I left. And everyone in the restaurant was probably thinking, did that guy just pull up to Moonasaw while we're eating our dinner? Like, what happened? And I was just overwhelmed. And I was like, this is crazy. And I don't know about anyone that has kids, but the pursuit of peace when you have kids is a very rare one, especially when there's 3 under 7. And so I was thinking about this week, and I'm like, that's my kids. They're crazy. And Kirst, I will validate you. You were right. And now I got out of the car, and my hair was all frizzy, and I'm like, babe, I need a break. And so we dropped them off at my Riri's. So Riri had them for a couple of days. And same thing with Riri. She's like, you need to put them on eBay. This is too stressful. But I realized that peace and our disturbance of peace comes from other areas of our lives. It's our children. It can be the world. It can be all these things. And I wanted to talk about it tonight and just kind of dive into it. And I wanted to encourage us all that there was a prophecy that was actually written in Isaiah. And I want to read to you. And in Isaiah 9:6 it says here, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace." And if you've been around and you're on the journey with us on discovering what it means to know God better, that child later on in the scriptures was actually born. And we know him as Jesus now. And so tonight I want to preach about Jesus, and I want to dive into why peace matters and why we need it in our lives and why we don't always get it right, but it's something we need. And so this story I want to read to you, it's Jesus. He's with his disciples. He's with the group of people that he did life with while he was here on earth. And we're going to read it in Mark and just talk about what happened. But there was on this chapter here, I'll just read you the story and then we can break it down. But on this day, it was evening had came. And he said to his disciples, "Let us go to the other side of the lake." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was, in the boat. And I like this point here. I'll get back to this in a minute. But it says here, there was also other boats with him. In verse 37, a furious storm came and the waves broke against the boat. They nearly were swamped. Jesus was in the stern sleeping on a cushion. And the disciples woke him up saying, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" So Jesus got up. He rebuked the wind and waves, the Bible says. He said, "Be quiet, be still." And the wind died down and completely came calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still not have faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." And I'm reading this week thinking that I know I'm no expert in peace. I don't want to get up here and start preaching about, I've mastered this, I'm the best at this, look how I'm doing with this. But I do know there's something important about pursuing peace and going to why they called him the Prince of Peace. And I kind of want to just dive into the three kinds of storms everyone in this room and everyone online will face. I find it interesting that there's parts of this Bible verse that is brought up. It's like, hey, there was other boats there with them. I'm assuming they also experienced the storm they're talking about in the scripture. That Jesus wasn't panicked or worried. He's asleep on a cushion, like the opposite of fear. And so the three kinds of storms everyone will face, I'd love to break them down tonight. The first storm is the storm around you. Everyone knows of the storm around them. The world, the news, the uncontrollable things in our lives, the conspiracies. I laugh at this one because I'm a bit of a conspiracist myself. I used to put cans underneath my stairs in 2020 when I thought the world was ending. And no one laughed at that, like you hadn't done that as well. And I remember that I got so caught up in what the world was doing. And Jesus gave me a quote the other day when I was just praying and thinking about it. He said, God said to me, he said to me the other day, "Samuel, knowledge isn't the answer to your peace. Knowing me is." And I like to think that in this story, it wasn't about whether the storm was real or not, whether this is bad or not. It was, where is the focus of the people that are with Jesus? Because what I've learned in my own life is that Jesus' promise is far more powerful than any problem. And some of us get caught up in what's going on. I'm with you. There's no doubt I'm with you on this one. There is some bad things. There's stuff that disturbs our peace in the world we're living in. It happens with our kids, our marriages, the news. You've been around long enough, you know it's crazy. But there's something powerful than when the world around you is going to chaos, you start to switch your focus. John 14:27 is this verse that Jesus himself, he's about to leave and the disciples are scared and they're worried about what's going to happen here on earth. And it says here, and this is Jesus speaking, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give you what the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." And see, it's not about denying the world's in chaos. It's about acknowledging that we know someone that brings peace. It's switching our focus. And I've realized in my own life, and maybe someone can relate to this, that whatever I start to consume in my life will eventually take over my life. If I get too caught up on what's happening, if I get too caught up on the bad news, if I get too caught up on the conspiracies, if I get too caught up on what they're saying and what they're doing, that will eventually become my life. But if I switch my focus to Jesus, and I trust he's the Prince of Peace, and I trust that his promises are real, and I trust that he loves us, and I trust that he's got us, and I trust that what he said is what he said, then it doesn't deny that the world's in where it is, but it definitely switches my focus. See, sometimes we say things like, "Have you heard the news lately?" Sometimes we say things like, "Well, it's a lot of effort just to get to church." Sometimes we think there's not enough time in the day just to pray for maybe even 5 minutes. Sometimes people say my life's too chaotic to spend time with other people that are like-minded. And sometimes we lose our identity in the very burden of having a bad doctor's report. And hear my heart, church. I understand this. I feel this deeply, and I get it. But I want to preach some truth tonight. And that is, where your focus is where your future is. I'm not denying the world isn't the world, and our marriages aren't a marriage, and our kids aren't kids, and the peace can disrupt really quickly. But where you spend the most time, people say it's too chaotic to come to church. Where you put your focus is where your future is. I don't have time to pray. I can't pray. There's so much going on in life. Where you put your focus is where your future is. And see, Jesus wasn't upset that the storm had come, nor that he was asleep to teach him a lesson. It was the very fact their focus was not who's in the boat with me, it's what was happening outside of the boat with me. Switch your focus. It doesn't matter if I call myself a Christian and I say that Jesus is in my life or in my boat. If my focus is not where he is, my focus will be where everything else is. And I will spiritually sink. The boat story isn't about whether things aren't happening or not. It's not about whether Jesus was in the boat or not. It's not about whether the realness of what's happening in the world's real or not. It was just basically, is my focus on him or on everything else? Peace comes where you put your focus. I'm not up here preaching, well, rainbows and lollipops, let's skip around and dance, pretend nothing's wrong. I'm teaching that when it is wrong, I look to what's right. And when it is scary, I look to where there's hope. And when I'm not sure, I look to a place where God says it is sure that he can do something in my life. Where your focus is where your future is. And I want to encourage you, if you're scared, you're worried, or you're not sure, replace that burden of not having peace and start to put it into the Prince of Peace. And start saying, my focus is on what he's doing in my life. I'm not saying this will be easy. I'm human. I get it. It's exhausting. But what I do know is that there's a price for peace. And sometimes, and I'm going to say it, and we can remove it from the tape if we don't want it online, but sometimes you have to choose your hard. I know that in my life, I have to choose my hard. I have to choose that I will put God first. I have to choose that I'll make priorities to spend time with the right people. I have to choose to switch off the news and not read conspiracies and not look into the chaos of the world. I have to choose my hard. And through choosing my hard, I find my peace. Switch your focus. The world around you is a storm, but when you switch your focus, it calms. Come on, feel it in your soul tonight. I have to prioritize my peace. You know, the second storm everyone in here will face, including myself and those online, is the storm within you. The one in your mind. The anxiety. The battlefield of your thoughts. I call it the storms no one else sees. And I thought about this deeply. And I was challenged by it because there's times in my life where I've heard the gospel preached incorrectly, where it says, hey, if you knew Jesus and you knew God, all your anxiety and depression and everything would just go away. But I've been around long enough to know that's not exactly true. There's still days where I'm sad. There's still days where I'm scared. There's still days where I'm not sure. And so in 2 Corinthians, it's brought up. Paul talks about this. I thought about it deeply. And he says in this verse, it's God speaking to him, and he says, he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I'll boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power, ready church, so that Christ's power may rest on me. You know, I don't have all the answers for this one. I don't know why we face storms in our mind. I don't understand why I'm in bed at night as your pastor with anxiety about things that are happening in my life. I don't have the answer for this. But what I do know is that I don't have to be perfect or fixed to experience peace. And one of the biggest lies you will ever get taught is that once you become perfect in your life and your mind and your attitude, then all of a sudden God's peace will come into your life. I know a God that will meet you in the turmoil, that will meet you in the sorrow, that will meet you in the sad place. And trust me on this, you search for him, his peace will fall on you. His grace is sufficient and his power is made strong in my weakness. Sometimes I lay in bed and I ask God, can your peace just fall on me? Because I'm exhausted. Not, can you make me better so I can experience peace? God, in my exhaustion, in my worry, can your peace fall on me? And I want to say to someone out there tonight, that maybe online or in this room, don't give up, friend. Don't give up in that battle in your mind. You're worth fighting for. Mother Teresa once said, peace begins with a smile. And I want to encourage us as a church, check in on the people around you. Because there's some storms you and I can't see. There's some stuff going on in people's minds that we don't understand. And we don't have to understand it. And we don't have to fix it. And we don't have to change it. We just have to help them and let them know that we're here for them. So there's storms that are happening around us. And there's storms that are happening within us. And I think Jesus is involved in both. He doesn't want to just make the world perfect so we're all perfect robots and we don't know what it is. I think there's something more powerful going on with the pursuit of peace. And so the third storm is that we will all face is the one that is actually for you. You're probably thinking, what? There's a storm that's going to be around you. There's a storm that's within you. But there's actually a storm that is for you. It's called the peace with a purpose. And trust me on this, in my own life, there is nothing more powerful than someone in complete chaos showing purposeful peace. The peace that no one can understand or justify or make sense of. A peace beyond all understanding the Bible talks about. And sometimes there's been a storm in your life to help save the people in your life. Jesus speaking, he says this in Matthew 5:9, blessed are those that are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And sometimes the greatest message that God is real and he's present in your life is how you react in the chaos. And this isn't our judgment. I'm not judging. I'm with you on this one. But sometimes, me as your pastor, I have to really hold it together in peace. And not lose my mind and lose my hope and lose my frustration, because there's peace in my purpose. And there's purpose in my peace. Sometimes I have to hold it together for my wife. I have to hold it together for my kids. I have to hold it together for my friends. I have to hold it together for the church, because there's purpose in my peace. And there's three things you need to do on the progress of peace or pursuing peace in your life. The number one is, the first one is, you got to understand there's storms around us. I said this, around you. Switch your focus. I acknowledge there's things going wrong, but I acknowledge there's a God that does good, and I'm okay that I can follow the God that does good. The second thing is the storm within you. Yeah, we're emotional beings. Things go wrong. Things aren't always perfect on the inside of how we were brought up, raised, and our traumas. I get it. But there's a Jesus that's not trying to fix you just to give you peace. There's a Jesus that will meet you right where you're at, and he'll give you that peace. You don't have to be perfect or fixed to feel the peace of God fall in your life. And I would love to pray at the end of this sermon that even if you walked in here for the first time tonight and you didn't believe, or you walked in here and you did believe, or you walked in here and you didn't even know what was going on, I'm going to pray that you feel his peace tonight. But the third one is the peace with a purpose. There is people around your life right now that are monitoring in your life whether God's real or not, based on how your peace is in the chaos. How our church reacts with what's going on in the world is a sign whether God's in our hearts or is just an idea of something about our hearts. Because how we react to chaos is an indication of how much God's in our peace. He's a God that's a good God. He's a God that's in control. He's a God that has this mapped out. And when I say it out loud, I better walk what I'm talking. That if he's got this, he's got this. If he's going to sort it out, he's going to sort it out. If he's got hope for humanity, then I'm going to trust there is hope for humanity. I don't know about you, but if you start to lack peace, start to speak it out. We have a good God. And he will transform your life. And he can restore you. And he will do something with your life. But you have to start switching your focus. And you have to start trusting that he really is who he says he is. Transforming power comes from the peace you and I present. Sometimes when the storms hit, there's people looking for hope. There's people in our town looking for hope. There's people at your work looking for hope. There's people in your family unit looking for hope. There's friends of yours looking for hope. There's always people looking for hope. And if we're out here all chaotic and crazy and we don't know what's going to happen, we kind of lose that our peace is actually a purpose. That when people are scared and they are worried and they're not sure, that we can lead them to a God that isn't worried and is lying on the cushion saying, "Ha, I got this." Even the waves and the things and the rain listens to him. There's transforming power in the peace you and I present. It kind of makes me excited. It makes me go, well, you know what, I've got to lean more into God's peace because it makes me realize I can make a difference just by showing people that I'm okay with what's going on. And I don't mean what's going on as in just like the world and the news. I mean like the things that are going on in our lives right now. The bad news from the doctors, the troubled things of our past, the things that have happened at our workplace. You will know the things that disturb your peace. I don't have to read them out. And I stumbled across this video the other night, and I just wanted to play it, and it kind of challenged me on how to handle sometimes the stress and the pressures we carry in life. So I'd love you to check the screens and check out what it was saying.
How heavy is this glass of water? Melissa, would you care to answer?
8 ounces.
12 ounces.
16 ounces.
The absolute weight of the glass doesn't matter. It depends on how long I hold on to it. If I hold it for a minute, nothing happens. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will begin to ache. If I hold it all day long, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed. Well, the weight of the glass hasn't changed, but the longer I hold on to it, the heavier it becomes. The stresses and the worries of life are like this glass of water. If you think about them for a little while, there's no problem. Think about it for a little bit longer, it begins to hurt. You think about them all day long, and you'll feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. Always remember, put the glass down.
Yeah. Always remember, put the glass down. I got a little remix for you on that one. I was thinking about the boat story and how similar it is and how relatable it is to us in our lives in the boat. Some of us might know Jesus, he's in the boat with us, and we're still chaotic about the storm. Some of us might not know Jesus, and we haven't hopped in the boat yet to even understand there is a guy we can wake up that's sleeping on a cushion and say, "Hey, help us." But that man, that guy said, put the glass down, but I've got one for our church before I pray tonight. And that is what the disciples did was actually correct. It wasn't a lacking of faith if you look deeply into it. Because what they knew to do is that when the storm hit, they went straight to Jesus and woke him up. And some of you might have heard that. You might not believe in Jesus, so it's like, put the glass down. But I want to call on people right now that when the storms hit your life, go wake up Jesus. Find him. Show up to come to church more often. Ask someone next to you. Start searching, looking for him. Although he's asleep, and although he's there, and although he's not worried, the best thing you could do is wake up Jesus. Put down the glass. Wake up Jesus. Put down the glass. Because the longer we hang on to it, the longer we don't address it, the longer that, it becomes the consumption of our lives, eventually it will be our lives. And it's the opposite of peace. And I want to preach our truth tonight. I preach this passionately, not because I'm an expert in it, but because I'm craving it. I want to wake up every day and know that no matter what happens in my life, I have eternal peace. And I have a peace that I can't explain. I can't preach to you and show how it works. But I know that in my own heart, I feel it and I see it and I walk in it. And I know that if I asked everyone in this room, would you like some peace? You wouldn't say no. I doubt if you ask someone that didn't believe in God, do you want some peace? They wouldn't say no. There is no one in this world, whether they're a believer or not, that would say no to this a little bit of peace. And the crazy thing is, we know who has it. It's called the Prince of Peace. It's Jesus. We see this in the scriptures. There will always be storms around you, within you, and for you. But something happens when you go to the Prince of Peace. And so tonight, God, if you're with me as a church, I don't mind if you just hold your hand out. If you're watching online, hold your hand out. And God, I pray tonight that there's people crying out for some rest. They're crying out for their focus to be switched. They're crying out for them to have understanding of why things have happened in their lives and how you can use that for good. And so God, I just pray tonight, all of us that are here in this place and online, that there's a peace we start to feel right now that surrounds us. It surrounds the broken. It surrounds the not sures. It even surrounds those that don't even believe. It surrounds those that have been in the church for 50 years, and it surrounds those that have been in the church for 5 minutes. God, I pray there's a peace that you can rest on us. And we're not experts at this. And we're not professionals at this, and we're not trying to be. We're just pursuing what it means to have peace. And although it's hard sometimes, God, we're choosing our heart that I would press in just so I could have a little bit of peace. And then everywhere I go, I carry that peace with me. Bring rest, not just to my soul, but the souls around me, God. We're thankful for your peace. We're thankful for your Son. We're thankful for what you did. And so tonight, I pray those that are their heart is aching and they're reaching out right now, God, I pray there's peace over their body, mind, and soul. In Jesus' name, amen.